Buddy.
We got someone coming in now.
Oh, very good. Sweet.
Oh, it's Drago.
Yeah.
We didn't recognize you with the beard there for a second. I had to do a double take.
It's my end of days look.
Your end of days look. Are we that close?
Take that crappy shirt off. It's my competition. You don't work for them, do you? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering. That's great.
It's your competition for real?
Yeah, I work for Church Point. Yeah, we're an engineering firm.
Oh, all right. Well,
What department do you work in?
industrial.
Oh, you're, okay, gotcha.
Farm.
Yeah, they're not our, that section. She had a farm, man, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would've keyed your car a long time ago. Yeah, no, Josie. Oh,
I think the kids are son. He works at industrial as well. He just got the new-
He's good, really good friends with one of our.
I can't talk anymore today. Been on the phone all day on my computer. How are you? How's Libby?
Good, everybody's doing well, thanks. You good?
Yeah, I think we're fine to do that,
Okay.
Mark.
We're going to call to order the Town of St. John Board of Zoning Appeals
Nancy, did you hit record?
I did.
for September 21st, 2020. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. Oh, wait, call to order. I did that already. Sorry. Pledge of allegiance. How to practice. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You've got to move Drago's packet over in front of you. You're good right there. I'll just have it over here.
I wanted you closer by me. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'll set the table for this petitioner. This, you.
Yeah,
we need roll call?
Sorry. Roll call in minutes. Gotcha.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Are you ready for roll call?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Here.
Mr. Popovich?
Here.
Mr. Sharon is absent. Ms. Wooland? Here. Mr. LaRue?
Here.
Mr. Eberly?
Here.
Mr. Decker? Attorney Decker?
Here.
Mr. Panzik?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now approval of minutes from July 2020. Did everyone get a chance to review those?
I'm going to make a motion to defer.
Yeah, that's
They haven't
fine.
come out yet.
I second that motion to defer.
Okay, very good. Now, Rick, floor is yours.
Okay, sorry for jumping roll call. on a
We
bit.
already did roll call.
For the motion.
Vote.
Oh, I'm sorry for the
Everybody's
vote.
present, so it can be regular
Oh, okay,
oral vote.
sorry.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries to defer the minutes till July 2020, of the July 2020 meeting, till next meeting. Sorry. Thanks, John.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. You may recall that this came to light because of the variance request that came before you in July from the Salises, who live in this house here that you can see. They live at 10688 Fairview, and they came in seeking a variance to build their fence across their side yard setback line, a variance which you granted. But this came to our attention that how did this fence get built partially across the same side yard setback. And when I initially looked into it, we couldn't find a building permit issued for that fence. After we dug further, we discovered the building permit. I believe it was discovered, excuse me, in the clerk treasurer's office. And in fact, a building permit did get issued for this fence. I wanted to show you, it is a 6-foot privacy fence. Our ordinance doesn't allow, let me say it this way, our ordinance allows a fence to cross a side yard setback line if it's no more than 4 feet tall and if it's what's called or defined as an open fence, which means you can see through 50% or more of it. So like a picket fence, a wrought iron fence, that kind of thing, can be built across a side yard setback on a corner lot as long as it's not more than 4 feet in height. This is a 6-foot privacy fence, so it violates that section of the ordinance. So we'll get to the request made by tonight's petitioner. To seek an after-the-fact variance. And I want to stress that I don't believe this is in any way the fault of the property owner, of the homeowner. The homeowner was relying on his contractor, which was True Line Fence, and the town to issue the proper permit for the property. Normally what happens, and this, by the way, this fence was built in almost 2 years ago, in October of 2018. And you have in your hard copies of your packets there, you've got a copy, among other things, of the survey that was submitted with the permit application. And when I see such an obvious issue with the survey, as you'll see here in a minute when I pull it up, it clearly shows, the survey clearly shows where they planned to put the fence, which crosses that side yard setback that I mentioned. I hope I didn't pass it already in scrolling.
It's right here.
Yeah, here we go. Okay. So it's this area here. This fence should have followed this property line here. It's hard, I know it's hard to see that cursor, but it should have followed this property line instead of crossing it. When I get an application like this, I typically contact the permit, the applicant, and let them know this is not acceptable, that they have to follow, in this case, follow the property line. But I don't see anywhere on this survey where I made that note. And I'm not going to tell you that 2 years ago I specifically remember calling the applicant, which was True Line Fence, and telling them they couldn't do that. I don't know whether, honestly, I don't know whether I did that or not. But this is, they made it clear where they intended to put the fence. Now, a document that I passed up that is issued by the HOA for Silverleaf clearly says that the fence has to, it's subject to the prescribed fences in the association's governing document, which is attached, and I'll show you that, and subject to concurrent approval of the Town of St. John Building and Planning Department. That document that they're referring to states in it that fences, you'll see it in a moment here, the last sentence here, the fence cannot exceed 6 feet in height and cannot be installed in the front yard setback or any setback adjacent to the road. So all parties, the homeowner, the contractor, and the town, all of us had this document. I don't need this document to know that they can't build the fence there, but all of us had a copy of this document, yet the fence got built across that line. And as I explained in the BZA meeting of July of this year, we don't inspect fences. We've changed that policy now. We still don't inspect fences for construction. But beginning with that meeting and moving forward, we inspect them for location to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. But clearly there was a mistake made here, and I don't fault the homeowner for this. It's somewhere between the contractor and the town. So the request tonight is to grant a variance for the fence to remain in place where it is, largely due to the fact that the homeowner, I mean, granted, I just said that the homeowner had a copy of this as well, but a homeowner relies on the contractor and the town to issue the proper permit and make sure the fence is where it belongs. So personally, I don't fault the homeowner in this case. In the ensuing couple of years, the homeowner has taken out a permit for a pool, and there is now a pool just on the inside of this fence. It's 10 feet off of the side property line, but if this fence had to be relocated to the setback line, it would literally go through the above-ground pool that they've had installed. So there's certainly
That to consider as well.
yeah. I'm sorry, what?
That's to consider as well.
Consider as well,
So,
right.
As far as movement of all that stuff. I
Right.
guess the other point that I'm struggling with is that they show the more open design versus that we don't allow a 6-foot fence of that height.
Right.
Be a complete
But-
privacy.
But the HOA requirements say you can't have a fence in there, you can't have a fence exceeding 6 feet in height. And the way I read this, no fence, according to the HOA,
Yeah.
can encroach into either of those setbacks. Now,
Right.
our regulations will allow the type of fence I explained earlier, a 4-foot open fence in that setback adjacent to the road. But the HOA is more restrictive than we are in that regard. So, I'm not sure, obviously, the HOA doesn't conduct inspections either, because had they inspected it, they would have realized the fence was in violation as well. So there were a number of us, I'll say plural, that dropped the ball on this one.
So on another note, since they have a pool, don't we have any kind of ordinance against pools and having a fence of a certain height to prevent access to that backyard?
A pool has to be surrounded by a fence of at least 5 feet in height
Okay, so there,
and no more than 6.
you go back to that 4-foot variance on that corner lot then too, is there's kind of a double whammy on that then, right?
I don't know.
Oh, so if you have a 4-foot fence and we require a 5-foot
Oh, yeah,
fence
yeah.
on the pool,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, they don't match up, that's what I'm getting at.
right. Yeah.
So would the pool be in that, in the easement as well?
The pool has to be at least 10 feet off of the property line, Drago, and it is.
Okay.
The 25-foot is a setback, it's not an easement. It's a setback
Okay.
line, not an easement line. So the pool's properly located, it's the fence that isn't. So an above-ground pool, as you know, can have the wall of the height of the wall of the pool itself, plus typically a lattice-type fence that surrounds it.
Right.
As long as it gets to at least 5 feet and not more than 6. So the pool could have gone in that setback area
Okay.
with that type of fence around the top of it. That's not an issue, but the pool is there now, and to relocate the fence would put it through part of the pool.
Gotcha. Okay. The one thing that we didn't address or didn't talk about is actually read the new business. Do I need to go through that? Is that number 5? Do I need to bring that into, I guess the question's for Margaret. Do I need to
Well-
read that?
You're going to open the public hearing for this after, but that's what we're discussing now.
Okay. Okay, I guess since we're no one here, we'll read this. New business is 2020-0007 True Line Fence, Nate Habenreiser at 10691 Glendale Avenue, petitioner seeking an after-the-fact variance for a fence that was built across the corner side yard setback line. Variance involves zoning ordinance chapter 13 F5C II2B.
Mr. President, could I ask a question?
Please.
Rick, what's the purpose of a 25-foot setback on a corner lot? Is it a safety issue? Is it a line of sight issue? Is it just someone doesn't run into the fence?
Well, for the fence, I believe it's a line of sight issue, that we don't want the fence. The fence could come out from the front corner of the house, over to the sidewalk, and all the way down the sidewalk in this case. And in some cases, that can cause a line of sight issue. In this case, I know you've traveled it, I don't believe there is a line of sight issue there at all, in either this one or the Salises behind them. But I would think that there's a couple of things. One is line of sight, another is having a fence set back from the sidewalk, for example, gives people more room and freedom to ride a bike on the sidewalk or walk on the sidewalk. Having a fence right up against the sidewalk kind of makes things tight. That's been the ordinance in St. John since at least 2009. I know it wasn't previous to that, and many years ago, fences were allowed to come right out to the side property line, even on corner lots. But I believe that changed with the zoning ordinance changes in 2009.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a picture with the pool?
No, I don't have I thought it
On
might be on the
Google.
aerials, Drago, but the aerials aren't more recent enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know if the pool has that extra fence on top?
I don't. No, I don't.
It
does
doesn't
not.
look like it. It looks like you can't see anything. I'm on street level in my car.
Right.
I could not see anything coming above that 6-foot fence that was noticeable.
I don't, let me go to back, because the Salises provided some pictures, and it may be possible that we can
Oh, see
that.
from their backyard into the neighbor's backyard?
Yeah, it may be possible, I'm not certain, I don't remember. Not in that one.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, now, that doesn't,
Show the top of it, though.
yeah.
Same thing.
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it, yeah, so.
And then, Rick, did you receive any remonstrance from the neighbors? Any correspondence, anything else?
Nothing.
Did we just discover this when we were doing the Salises?
Yes.
Okay.
That picture didn't look like it would have interfered with.
Yeah, it didn't look like.
It looks like it's
that's the
pretty
way
far
the-
off. I don't know I was,
That's
that
the way the
picture.
property owner described it to me. I didn't try to, I'm not tall enough to look over a 6-foot fence, and I didn't try going into their backyard.
because if it had to go along that property line, just given the fact that I can't imagine, I guess if you go back to that other picture, Rick, just for a quick second, I'd have to think that's more in center with their backyard, or with that, I think they got a patio back there.
Right.
Let's look at this.
Yeah, see, it's more,
To
Yeah,
the-
it's
to the
more
right.
over this way, because that fence
yeah,
probably
that'd be to the
has
north.
to be moved to about here and
Yeah,
moved there, so it doesn't look to me like that's the case, but the property owner described it to me that way, that's why I described it to you that way.
yeah, no, you're only able to tell you what you've been told in this
Yeah.
situation.
I Now, so now this fence that was approved is constructed to meet that corner of that fence. So that's in place now, that's been built.
So he, Rick, just to clarify, he's just looking to keep his fence in its current location.
Right.
Because this variance would allow him, if we don't make that clear, to move his fence out to that, beyond that potential side setback unless we make a contingency that it stays at its current location.
Yeah, you can make that condition that it not, yeah, that
It
it not
doesn't push out any farther outside
approach any
that.
farther than it is in this case, yeah.
You said the fence at the Salas's residence is,
That's this one here,
yeah, that's already installed
right,
as illustrated there?
Mhm.
right, yeah. And they built it back to meet that corner.
Drago, if you continued farther west down that sidewalk, the gap between sidewalk and fence increases, as you can see on the plan. So the narrowest it is, it's right at that post. Because he just took his fence straight off his house, all the way to his back property line, I would imagine.
And Salis has just kind of followed that, that
angle.
variance along that.
Right, so when you go to, unfortunately on Google Earth, the house that we're talking about today is not even there yet. The Glendale's not there yet. On, here you can see on the GIS, county GIS, at least the building has started. So he came off of this corner of his house and went back, straight back to his property line. And as this line obviously changes, that the fence gets closer and closer to this property line. So for part of the length, maybe down to about here, it's compliant. And then the back, roughly the back half of it is not.
Do we have to open it up for a public hearing?
Yes. If you're done with your questions,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. We'll now open up to public, for public comment. Anybody online?
We didn't receive any.
Nothing?
No,
Okay.
nothing of any kind.
So we've opened it and we'll close it since there's no one here to make any comments. Bring it back to the board.
You all have a copy of the findings of fact in front of you
Yeah.
when you're ready to make a motion of one type or another.
Does anybody else have any more questions or comments?
What is the, do we know what the HOA is gonna, are they gonna enforce that at all? Do we know, like, that situation?
No, I sent an email to one of the principals of the HOA and never received a comment. Not, I asked him specifically about this, this situation, you know, that I, you know, explained that we missed it, the contractor missed it, and obviously the HOA doesn't have a follow-up inspection mechanism either. It wouldn't appear, or that would have been caught, but no response from the HOA. And they didn't, by the way, they didn't have any comment on the Salis request either, variance request either.
So we're looking at like half of that fence that goes back is going over that line essentially.
Yes.
Roughly speaking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If I go back to the survey again,
If I'm looking at here, yeah.
yeah, so at this point,
Maybe a little more than half.
yeah. What our ordinance allows someone to do with a 6-foot privacy fence would be to come out from the furthest point of their house, so from here over to this property line, and then follow it all the way back. That would be allowable, but what it doesn't allow is this encroachment here.
Yeah.
Rick, I don't know if the board wants to see it, but I just checked Bing Maps on my computer, and you can see a full view of the upper of the house with the pool and the fence.
What'd you look at, Margaret?
Bing, bing.com/maps. And then I typed in the address.
Oops, probably have to get that off. Margaret, that's actually a Dyer
And you-
address. Did you put in Dyer or St. John?
It pulled up with either one, but I went ahead and used the St. John address and then bird's eye view.
Might have to actually open up that one below it, maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
Open this,
that
Mark?
one, Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay,
and then type that stuff in.
Yeah, that's the,
gotcha. I can probably, all right. Oops, it's not, there we go.
There it is.
There it is.
Sounds like Jason's coming to rescue.
Oh, there's a pool. See it?
Over here?
Yep. So your bird's eye, if you click.
yeah, and if you click on the bird's eye view.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
that's
Yeah.
like,
Yep,
So it's nowhere near the fence.
He's telling a little bit of a story there.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's nowhere near the fence.
And you can zoom in quite a bit closer than that too if you want.
yeah, it's not gonna encroach. That's insane.
Yeah.
And he
So-
does not have that fence around the pool either.
No.
No. So it would definitely need a 5 or 6 foot fence around the yard since he doesn't have it on the pool.
Right, so what she's accomplished that with this, but as far as, if we insisted on him moving that, it would not encroach on the,
Yeah,
On the pool.
yeah.
But then you already have a fence that ties into that back corner there too.
Right.
True.
correct.
it
Yes.
was just approved by this
That was
board
just approved.
3 months ago.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
But
Thank
then
you, Margaret.
also have the issue
Thanks,
of
Margaret.
it, being a solid.
Quite
fence that's
welcome.
Non-compliant, right? It being a solid fence too, not, let alone being 6 foot,
Right.
so that's a violation.
Yeah. Mhm. I don't know if this one, I've never used this application before, so I don't know. It doesn't look like you can go down to street level on it like you can in Google Earth. But that's one of the things that John brought up, like, you can see that it's not a line of sight issue for making these
Yeah,
turning motions with that fence being there, nor is this one, that, because this, and not that this is not germane to this, but where the Salises are concerned, this is a three-way stop situation up here. So it was less of a concern about line of sight than this one, but,
And Glendale North is a cul-de-sac, so limited traffic.
yeah,
Looks like a lot of people have those solid fences.
They do.
yeah,
There are a lot of those fences.
yeah.
So I don't think the HOA would make them change anything,
No, I don't either.
because there's plenty of solid fences in the subdivision.
Right, right.
Mr. President, if there's no more discussion, I'm willing to make a motion.
okay, let's have. Have at it.
I'm making a motion to approve the variance involving zoning ordinance, chapter 13, F5, 2, I, 2B, for Nate Hubenreiser at 10691 Glendale Avenue. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property, which I know is a stretch at times, but just due to the current conditions. But I would put a contingency on there since this variance would allow him to extend his fence at a future date, that it stays at its current location. He's just asking it to stay at its current location.
Correct.
That it stays at its current location.
There's no additional fence to the side yard.
In any
For
other location,
capacity. Yep.
in any other capacity.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is discussion of changes the rules and regulations. And we've tabled this for the last couple of meetings. We want to wait till Brennan's here. We want to do, we've got a majority. I'll defer to Mr. Eberly and
Well, the
Adam.
only two changes that are proposed, and one was what Paul wanted us to consider, and that is going back to the 10-day notification, which is consistent with the state law.
Right.
We have a 15-day notification, and then I suggested B, that we go to one newspaper notification in keeping with the state law as well, instead of the two that we require. So those are the only two changes
Right.
that
No, I agree, and
I
it's something
know.
we've been trying to get through for the last, I don't know,
Yeah.
it seems like forever. So
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to taking a vote on.
and both of those just keep us compliant with state law.
Sure.
But my hope is that if we do this, the Plan Commission does too, because I don't want to see the Plan Commission continue with 15-day notification and two newspapers if the BZA changes this. So if you change this, then I'm going to propose to the Plan Commission that they also change their rules and regulations to reflect the same. It would just, it could be confusing.
Sure.
Any other way, so.
Paul, have they had that discussion? Are you
No.
still on the planning commission?
We haven't discussed that at the Plan Commission level yet, no.
It's really a common sense change, though. It just would make our town requirements mirror state statute. So what we've had in the past was a petitioner would come in here and they'd only have 14 days notice. And they'd say, well, I didn't meet your town requirements, but I met the state requirements. So then we were caught in this quandary where it looked like we were giving something away, but really we were requiring more than necessary, and it's not an advantage to the town at all.
Sure.
So it's just easier to go by the state guidelines, which is 10 days notice instead of 15. It's a little easier on a petitioner, and then it's cut and dry. You either make the 10 days or you don't, and if you don't, then you're gonna have to wait till next month. Because you may recall, in the past few years, we've had a few people come
We've
in
had
and
a
say,
couple, yeah.
we didn't make the deadline, but we want to do it anyway because law allows us to.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And we cannot waive the 10-day requirement. That's a statutory requirement.
I think
so.
you got to have at least that.
Yeah.
So what's the flavor from the planning commission? Is that something they would take up?
I'm sure they would probably adopt the same standards.
Okay.
It really simplifies things, honestly.
It does.
And takes that burden off of the commission and the BZA to make that judgment call all the time. It was
Right.
coming up pretty often for a
Yeah,
while.
it's probably happened 3 or 4 times, I would say. I will say this, the last time when it was discussed, and I'm fairly certain, Paul, it was at the Plan Commission level, when I suggested that we go to one newspaper instead of two, a couple Plan Commission members thought that in the, what do I want to say? In order to be as transparent as possible, we should just leave it at 2 newspapers. I just don't agree. Nobody gets their information from the legal notice section of the newspaper in the first place,
It's a
so
newspaper at home anymore. I mean, I haven't.
Don't ask that.
that's $100.
I do
That's
too.
$175 that somebody pays to put this notice in the newspaper, in 2 newspapers, so there's $350. Now, we have to do it in one because the state law requires it.
Requires it, right.
But to make them put it in 2, spending $175 a pop, when I would say more than 95% of the people don't get their information from that notice. They don't find out about a public hearing from the notice in the newspaper.
Right.
It's the letters they get, it's the sign that we make them post on the property.
Correct.
So I would hope I would agree with Paul, and I would hope that the Plan Commission would see the logic in just going with state law, one newspaper and 10-day notification. Change both sets of rules and regulations. It's a pretty simple change. Adam, I think that's probably just a resolution to make those changes.
Yeah, I don't think there's any requirement for any hearing or publication.
Or ordinance. I think it's just a resolution. I think that's how we did it
The rules
before.
made by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and they would simply vote to make any changes.
Right.
to
So-
those rules.
I would imagine Adam could prepare a resolution for you at your next meeting to act on amending the rules to reflect these two changes.
Okay. Do we have to take a vote or have a motion to make the changes, or can we just wait till Adam puts together a document? Again, this is an area that I'm not familiar with. We make a motion to make the changes first, or?
No, well, so I think a resolution is a more formal record of the changes or amendments that are made to the rules.
Okay.
The rules are published, they're required to be published.
Yes, sir.
So, if the Board of Zoning Appeals were inclined to make those changes at tonight's meeting, I think it has authority to do so. A resolution is, if it were to be considered by the Board of Zoning Appeals at any future meeting, would just be a more formal
Okay.
way of presenting that. The language would be specifically set forth in the resolution itself, so I would probably recommend that a form of resolution be used to
Okay.
implement those revisions and changes.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds like a plan then for next meeting.
Mr. President, questions?
Yeah.
Rick, the 10-day requirement, going to a 10-day requirement, does that have any effect on our protocols and procedures that we have with people filing petitions? Will it, going from a 15 to 10-day shortens it potentially a whole week, does that
It was 14 to 10.
15 to 10.
15 to
15 to
10?
I think
So
14.
would that have any adverse effect on turning stuff around for the board meetings? I mean, do we have protocols in place then that have to be changed? Like, do we give ourselves, like Ken, a week to review things? Because now you're taking off, I just want to make sure
No, yeah,
if we
yes,
shorten it
we
from
still-
10.
Yes, we still have protocols in place to give ourselves time for proper review at the Plan Commission level. Now, here, we don't typically have a need for a lot of advance review time, but at the Plan Commission level, yes, because they still have to submit it within a certain, regardless of when they have their public hearing, they still have to submit information to town staff that gets distributed to Plan Commission members much more than 10 days in advance of a public hearing. So, yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Because I appreciate, I mean, Paul and I have been there where someone comes in at 14 days and asks for a variance and to hear a public hearing because they were short. So I understand what you're trying to accomplish. I just want to make sure our protocols are all met within that shortened time
The
period.
timeline was to get everything together before
Right,
that
so-
meeting.
And to build on what Rick just said, the subdivision control ordinance specifies all those time windows for the Plan Commission, how much time they need to review it, how many copies of each document, digital, et cetera, et cetera. And John, you probably remember working through that recently, how we had to
Right.
spec all that out. As a BZA, you're more of a judicial function. It's just presented to you and you just make a decision. So there's not a lot of pre-work as there is in subdivision plating. You're just viewing a variance or in making a judgment, so.
And I'm fine, just for the board to consider when this resolution comes, going to one newspaper, I would request that we pick the highest publication newspaper in the town
I would agree.
or in the county. I just don't want the Northwest Indiana Gazette Journal being the one they submit it. So we have some, and then I would suggest also, because I know it's been brought up, whether it's a fee that the town receives to put it either on a Twitter, Facebook, on our own website, because if they're paying 187, maybe, the town will put some sort of link on our website to show of any future public hearing, so at least it's on a social media platform, and then instead of the petitioner giving it to the newspaper, it's a fee they give to the town to have someone go online and put it on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, so people see it. I don't know if that's feasible.
We have,
That's
we
above
have our
my pay
meetings,
grade.
there's an agenda on the town thing that has what each meeting's gonna have, right, Rick? I mean, it's been a while since I've been there, but
But I don't know,
don't we
like,
have like the agenda on
We do.
on the town for
Yeah.
each,
I
committee.
provide the, and I know Jason's probably listening too, I provide the agendas to Jason and also to Beth Hernandez. And I believe Jason posts it on the town's website. But I think what John's maybe referring to is the actual notice itself.
Right.
That can be posted, I'm sure I can talk to Jason, and that can be posted on the town's website too.
and if it's time and effort for the town to do it, I say the town create some sort of fee mechanism, because if it's $187 to put it in the paper, it's a small fee the developer or the petitioner gives to the town to take time and effort to put it on there.
yeah, I would agree with
Mm-hmm.
that.
So,
Jason's
just,
gonna-
just for,
People look at the
it's
newspaper, like you
consideration,
mentioned.
just for the
There's a
board to
couple of
consider.
Can I go back to the same issue though, of having two newspaper articles?
Yeah, but it won't be as much. I don't know how much it costs to have it in both, how much does it cost to put in the paper?
About $175, depending on the size of the ad. So it'll go into one paper, either the Times or the Post Tribune. We specify that the two papers have to be the Times and the Post Tribune. So I agree, we should pick one of those two and make that the paper of choice, and that's the one that gets published in. And then the actual form of notice could be published on our website, Jason, for people to see?
I could do that.
Yeah. So that,
And I wouldn't charge $175,
I don't
but it
think we
would
should
be.
charge at all. That's,
Oh, okay.
there's no cost to that.
Just my time.
Well, then it's $250, right?
Oh. All right, forget that idea.
Yeah,
I was trying to save the petition. But no, I'm just thinking, I mean, I'm not saying we need to charge, but if there's a time and effort to do it on our behalf,
There got some value to it, is the point on that, and I agree. I was thinking about that earlier, how we put it out there besides newspapers, since really, I mean, not many people read the paper any longer. More people look online to see what's coming up at the town meetings and things of that nature. Why not put something there along those lines? Secondarily, if we pick one paper, is there any kind of fallout, thank you, from that perspective?
I think you just base it on publication. You tell the Post or whoever, the Times, that if you want to be the chosen one, you gotta,
I don't know
Do it
which
based on
paper is
publication.
more widely published.
I
I'm not sure.
I have no
My
idea.
guess would be the Times, but
That'd
I'm
be the
not certain
Times.
of that, and I don't know how we know that.
May I suggest that we, again, fall back on state statute and maybe Adam could look up what the state requires. They require publishing in one paper. I'd rather be less restrictive, and if they can pick the paper, let them pick it. I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
It's a paper that has to be published, like, it used to be a weekly basis, Adam. It might be daily now, but
I just don't
very
want,
specific language in
I'm
there.
actually looking at that now.
I just don't want them to pick the Evansville Courier.
Right, right.
I think the requirements are that it's in our area, right? And
Oh, yeah, it has to be in the local area.
Yeah, I mean,
Not the
I
penny
see what you're
saver.
saying.
The shopper.
The shopper.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Well, back in the day, that's what it was. Back in the day, when I was here the first time, it was the Crown Point Gazette, and so, I mean, they were two really small papers that were published once a week in the
Sure.
county, and that's all it had to be. And it's probably similar language, you got it?
Well, I'm pulling it up. So, whenever officers of a political subdivision are required to publish a notice affecting the political subdivision, they shall publish the notice in two newspapers published in the political subdivision. This subsection applies to notices published by county officers. That wouldn't apply. This subsection applies to notices published by city, town, or school corporation. If there is only one newspaper published in the municipality, then publication in that newspaper alone is sufficient. If no newspaper is published, then that wouldn't apply.
Are you looking in the 900 series, or are you looking
No,
at somewhere?
well, the 920 is 3674-920 is what requires public notice in accordance with section 5312 and 5314.
no more fence at all, right? I mean, this is just.
No,
from
just in the
setback.
encroachment. He can still go back to his setback.
So you
Farther,
you're
no,
saying from that corner to the.
he just can't encroach anymore into that 25-yard setback.
And then five,
I'm saying, because I thought it was more along the lines from that corner of his house towards the street,
No, he
that
could,
front end, so I'm saying,
oh, by his house?
yes.
No, he could still go back to the setback
Okay.
there.
Okay.
It's just,
All right, just want to check.
in the area that he's
Okay,
not
so
in the
you-
setback, he can't move it,
Okay, I
increase
just
it
want to make sure
farther.
that was what you meant.
Because I don't think we can,
So you're looking
Tell him
at
he can't go to-
5-3-1-2?
two. Yep.
So you don't add any more. I mean, I thought you want.
just into his, just, he can't go anymore into the setback.
Yeah, what I'm talking about, John, is from here, from that corner to the setback. So I thought you meant like, because right now he could take it from here to there and along the side and connect.
Yeah, I don't want to restrict, I mean, that's within his rights.
Okay.
But that's that part, I just don't want the next homeowner to keep on pushing it farther out.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, so, Indiana Code 5-3-1-2 provides that for a public hearing on any matter that's not specifically mentioned in these certain subsections, notice shall be published one time at least 10 days before the date of the hearing or the meeting. And that's what you've all been discussing or referring to earlier. And, let's see.
I can take it.
So
Nancy.
as a qualified publication means a publication that is published daily, weekly, semi-weekly, or tri-weekly, is of general circulation to the public, has been published for at least 3 consecutive years in the same city or town, has continuity as to title and general nature of content from issue to issue, contains news or general community interest, community notices, or editorial comment, contains advertisements from unrelated advertisers in each issue, has a known office located in the county in which it is published, has been entered, authorized, and accepted by the United States Postal Service as mailable matter of standard mail, Class A, for the time published. So that's, I mean, I don't know that to address Mr. Kennedy's suggestion that one or the other of the two papers be utilized for that purpose, I don't know that I can give you a definitive legal opinion whether that's allowed or not.
But a paper could, what's the minimum requirement? It was said tri-weekly?
Right, so, right, as used in this chapter, a qualified publication means a publication that is published daily, weekly, semi-weekly, or tri-weekly, is
Tri-weekly.
of general circulation to the public, has been published for at least 3 consecutive years in the same city or town.
But no comment on how many. How
That-
many, it doesn't say 1 or 2 publication, or the state statute doesn't,
It says one publication, right? One time.
Yes, so
One
the
time.
state statute says it needs to be published once at least 10 days before the,
it needs to be published once, but it doesn't say how many publications. Does it give a minimum number of publication?
no, being published once means that would only have to be in a single publication.
Okay.
So back to, we're not gonna pick a particular paper, we're gonna say either paper then.
Well,
Trib or
then
the-
I would advise them to either the Post, Tribune, or
Right.
the Times.
Right,
Their choice, but
I
even that, I think what Adam's saying is even that, he's not giving us a legal opinion that that is the right advice to give a petitioner, or to restrict them to one of those two publications. If they know the law and they find something that's published once a week, or is it even
Weekly,
once? Weekly.
semi-weekly, tri-weekly, I mean, it's hard to find.
Yeah.
Can we just do a recommendation then, like, here's what we recommend you know, one of these two publications,
Yes,
and then if we, you know.
Yeah,
if we
that's
have a
what I
sheet
do
on our
now.
Form on there where we
Yeah.
have like the phone number, so they. can
That's what
see
I do
that.
now. I tell them it's in the Times and the Post Tribune. The two publications are the Times and the Post Tribune. We might, I don't know if we say that specifically in the rules or not, Adam.
I do not believe you do.
Okay.
I do
They have
not.
to provide proof of publication.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you can specify that, because they could fall back on state statute and say, well.
Well, it's just a recommendation though.
Right, right.
So, I mean,
As
if
long as
they
you
do
keep it on that.
do that, they still have to prove that it's compliant with whatever.
Right.
Correct.
It'd be a recommendation that doesn't have to go on the rules, though.
Recommendation is okay, just not a rule probably.
Right.
So otherwise, the rules, you could literally adopt the BZA statute right out of section, what, 912 you said it was? Or 920?
920.
920. So you could literally just lift that and copy it into your rules and reg, and you're gonna match state. And then you can add a recommendation for local papers that we're aware of, right? So I think that's what Rick's office usually does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, again, Mr. Kennedy, I would say again, I can't really advise that you specify one, as part of the rules or regulations.
Okay, understand. What about, how would we handle social media platform? Can we make I would just like to see it on our website, at
Yeah.
least, at a bare basic
We'll take care of
minimum.
that. We'll do that. That's not theirs.
Should
to
it be in the resolution that is
So it's not something that would be incumbent on the petitioner to do, because the petitioner has no control over
Our
the
website.
website. So I think you could certainly put it into the rules. I don't see any legal prohibition against doing that, but that's something that the town would have to do.
Okay, no, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't put in a rule then just for the town to put in it. If we're taking it off one paper, just let's add it to somewhere else.
No, that's.
On a social media platform, other than the paper.
Oh, you mean something like Facebook or?
If town has Facebook or clerk treasurer, or just a form of social media that's hosted by the town of St. John. Whether it's our Facebook, whatever's the most convenient. Maybe Jason, Rick, and council could figure out maybe
I can
which
work that out,
platform
Jason.
might be the best platform to put it on.
The town has a Facebook page, and actually, in the last month or so, they've started publishing agendas for meetings on the Facebook page for anyone who signs up for it. So,
Yeah.
so the agendas are getting posted out there. It's a voluntary thing. Again, as Adam said, it's not something a burden you could place on a petitioner, but it's a rule that you could make internally that the town can follow through. So we're already kind of doing it.
Yeah.
We've actually gone in that direction the last month or two.
I just heard that one gentleman talking about social media, and a lot of their stuff they receive from social media, so maybe it'd be a good thing that town moves in that direction a little bit more.
We are definitely going there. So.
Beautiful.
Right.
Awesome.
Jason, you have a comment? You said you
No,
okay.
we were talking about it, and I just
Okay.
wanted to let you know.
Just wanted
that
to, you had
the town of
something
St.
else
John-
you wanted to tell us.
The town of St. John does have its own Facebook page, so putting public hearing notices on there would be relatively easy.
Perfect. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you, Jason.
Great.
Very good.
Anything else on this item?
So resolution next meeting, potentially, if we have a meeting in October? If,
Oh, yes, I
Yeah,
can have a
October,
resolution prepared for the meeting next month, yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is public comment, and I don't think we have anybody out here to do that, so we'll open and close that. And at that, there's nothing else, then we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.